Welcome to the writing segment. I am Lata Vasant. I am going to discuss about the writing segment with you. In the progression of learning, you would have seen the reading segment and the spelling segment discussed in depth. Now, we are going to discuss about the writing segment. Many of us have difficulties in writing. Children with specific learning disability have severe difficulties in writing. In this segment, we are going to discuss what are the various kinds of difficulties faced by the children with specific learning disability and how we are going to help them overcome their difficulty. Now, let us see what is writing. Writing is the process of communicating thoughts and ideas using letters and numbers. In the order of learning, we first listen, speak, read and then write. So, writing is taken up as the last activity after all the other areas of learning develop. Generally, now writing is taken up as the first activity overtaking all the other areas of learning. It hence becomes a very complex activity. Many of us are very good at speaking, expressing our thoughts and ideas verbally, but we do not want to write. The same kind of difficulty is seen with children who are having specific learning disability. Instructions need to be given to read and write. It is taught in steps. Writing is a very complex activity. Let us take the example of driving a car on the road. Our hands need to control the steering wheel at the same time change gears. The leg needs to control the clutch, brake and the accelerator. We have to judge the distance on the road and drive the car very safely. Hence, there are so many activities which need to be coordinated for us to drive safely. Similarly, for a child to copy from the board, let us see the process involved. The child has to see the sentence on the board, it has to be processed by the brain, the child has to locate the place in the notebook and then write. The signals which are sent from the brain to different parts of the body involved in writing needs to be sent correctly for the child to copy from the board. So, writing involves lot of activities which need to be coordinated and performed correctly. Hence, we say writing is a very complex activity. A few minutes back, I mentioned that writing needs to be taught in steps. Now, for a child, we have to teach the shape of the letter, the size of the letter and the sound of the letter for the child to write a meaningful word. We can remember these as 3 S's of writing. Only if correct inputs of the shape of the letter and the spacing between words holding the writing tool are given to the child would be able to give us a legible output. Tactile refers to touch. Different mediums give different feedbacks to the brain. Different mediums give different feedback to the brain. We know that writing involves holding the writing tool. The feedback received from the skin and muscles are processed by the brain and it creates an imprint in the brain. Yet another aspect of writing is the maturation of muscles involved in writing. For children, the muscles need to mature age appropriately for them to write legibly. Learning disability will have difficulty in one area or more than one of the areas involved in writing. Now, let us understand the 4 important elements which affect the child's ability to write. The first one is attention, the second one is memory, the third one is motor and the fourth one is language. Now, let us discuss each of this independently to understand what kind of difficulties a child with specific learning disability would have. Attention is the ability of the child to focus on task at hand. We can talk about 2 kinds of attention. In a class, there might be a child who does not want to sit in a place, who is always disturbing others and keeps moving around in the class. This child is called a hyper child. His attention is not focused on what he is doing and this child will not be able to copy from the board complete the activity and he will be lost in class. The next kind of attention is hypo. This child might be most well behaved in class and would be nodding the head for whatever the teacher says. Only when the performance in exam is evaluated, we would be able to find out the child has some difficulty. These kind of children are very difficult to identify. It becomes very challenging to help these children. These children are called hypo. Since these children's attention is not focused on task at hand, they will not be able to take down notes when it is dictated. They will not be able to complete the copying work either from the board or from the book. Memory is the capacity to store, remember and retrieve information. Now let us discuss how the three kinds of memory are involved in writing. Consider a situation where the teacher has put up a choose the correct answer type of a question on the board with 4 options. Active working memory involves the ability to hold things in one's mind while working. The child has to remember all the 4 options which have been given in the activity and then decide on the correct choice. Memory is a type of memory where the child would have to store the information for a short duration of time. In this activity, the short term memory enables the child to remember the phrase choose the correct answer. If the child has a difficulty in short term memory, then the child would have to look up at each word given in that particular sentence to know what the activity is being discussed about. Long term memory is the type of memory where the information is pushed from short term to long term. Helps the child to remember the shape of the letter and other basics of writing which has been taught earlier at lower classes and do a legible writing currently. In the above activity of choose the correct answer, the child remembers the options using the active working memory, remembers the question using short term memory, and using the long term memory the child is able to remember and retrieve the correct answer. Now let us discuss about language. Language is the ability to communicate verbally, in written form or through gestures. It is a very important component of writing. If the child does not have the required language or the vocabulary, the child would not be able to express what he or she wants to express in any of the formats. The child needs to have the required elements of language to first express his thoughts or ideas verbally and then move on to expressing it in written format. Motor refers to muscle development. The muscles involved in writing, the muscles of the shoulders, arms and fingers need to be matured age appropriately for the child's writing to be legible. Graphomotor skills are essential for a good handwriting. As the child grows, the scribbling and drawing evolves into handwriting. Hence, for a child's writing to be legible, all the muscles involved in writing, the muscles of the shoulders, arms and the fingers need to be matured age appropriately for the child to write legibly. So, in this session, we have discussed about the basics of writing. We have talked about the attention, memory, language and the muscles which are involved in writing.